The Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show is sponsored by Accunet Mortgage, an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 255368, and Accunet Realty Advisors, which is a separate company from but still affiliated with Accunet Mortgage.
Putting a roof over your head without the headache. Get answers to all of your home buying questions. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And our Sunday best to you. Good morning and welcome to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show. I'm Steve Kettler, along with Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors owner and president Brian Wickert and licensed millennial loan consultant David Wickert. As always, if you have a question or a comment, you can give us a call at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620. I'm really curious to hear the explanation as to how the same home can have three different appraisal values over the course of 14 months, and it continues to go down.
Yeah, actually, it was $490,000 a year 14 months ago. Then earlier this summer, $510,000, and now we just got our third appraisal on it, and it's $470,000. So What? All right, so we're going to tease you with that one. We'll hold that one off for a segment, because it brings to light several issues that people don't understand about appraisals. So we will explain that to everybody. But I was cruising around the internet getting ready for the show this week and found 5 snowbird homes on Zillow. They had a little blog post, 5 snowbird homes of $250,000 or less. Wouldn't you love to have a second home, Steve? You know.
Oh, sure.
Jacksonville, there was one, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, 2,100 square feet in Jacksonville for just $230,000. $208,000 in Henderson, Nevada, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, only 1,200 square feet. I thought that was interesting. Houston, Texas, $239,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,600. Chandler, Arizona, $210,000, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,400 square feet. Orlando, that's the one we're going to focus on because we lend in Florida. $200,000 in Orlando, Florida. You can get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 1,900 square feet. So the first question we're going to ask somebody, if you were to call up and say, hey, David, I want to buy this house in Orlando. It's listed for $200,000. The first question that a good loan originator is going to ask you is, so, Steve, are you going to rent it out for more than 14 days a year?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, if you do rent it out for more than 14 days, we're going to look at that as a rental property. And we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
And so here's a fast fact. If you were to buy it as a rental property and put 20% down, we could give you a rate of 4.5%. Go ahead, David.
I just always note for folks that the rates, especially on the bucket of non-owner occupied, is not as awesome as if it was your primary home or your second home.
That's right. That's because Fannie.
Well, correct, because if your world turns upside down, you're going to stop paying on the rental before you stop paying on the place where you sleep at
That
night.
is the general idea. So, but check out how minimal, at least at this price level, the payment differences are. So, including the taxes, I looked up the taxes on this particular house in Orlando. They were like $1,600 a year, if you can believe that. And I used $50 a month for homeowners insurance, which I don't know if that's good or not in Florida. But bottom line is, if those assumptions are right, the monthly payment's only $1,000, 20%. Closing costs are a little higher in Florida, so that's going to take $46,000 out of pocket, and you got yourself a payment of $1,000 a month. Now, if you buy it as a second home and put 20% down, you save $93 a month. It's $907. Okay, so is it really worth committing a felony called mortgage fraud by saying, oh, no, it's really going to be my second home? The rate, by the way, is 3.5% for the same closing costs, which sounds better than 4.5%. We're talking $93 a month. Plus, as I think I pointed out on the show before, if you call it a rental property, then you get to depreciate it.
Sure.
That's an extra deduction. When you call a house a second home, all you can deduct is the property taxes and your mortgage interest, just like it's a primary residence. Although, just by the way, if you have more than one second home, you have to pick one. You can't take the interest and property taxes on 2 second homes plus your primary residence. You got one.
Yes.
Deductions. Okay, so not that big a difference. All right, but if you did want to buy this as a true second home, meaning I am not going to rent it out for more than 14 days a year. By the way, how did I come up with that magic number? Because the IRS allows you to rent a home for 14 days, and you don't have to report the income. If you rent out a place for 15 days, now you're supposed to file it on your tax return, which means your lender is going to 1234 Maple Street as a rental property.
Yep, on your Schedule E.
Okay, but check this out. As a second home, you only have to put how much down, Dave?
10%.
10% down. So now you just cut the down payment in half. We could give you 3.5%, and including the cost of mortgage insurance, it would be about $1,078. So that's the attraction of financing, I think, as a second home, is it takes half the down payment as it does if you finance it as a rental property. All right. When we come back, I've got just a couple more tips on condo hotels, because I was talking to a guy about, I was golfing with him, and he says, I'm buying a place out in Utah at a really nice ski resort. And the first question I had is, does that have like rental features, like a condo hotel? So what's the story on what makes a condo hotel? We'll cover that quickly when we come back, and then also get into that appraisal story when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour on 620 WTMJ.
Don't just find a house. Find your home. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
It's hard to travel Wisconsin roadways right now and not encounter construction of some sort. Now, new research indicates that there are a few new methods available for dealing with traffic problems and tie-ups. Get the story on Wisconsin's Afternoon News tomorrow afternoon at 3:34. Brian Wickert is with us. David Wickert is with us. It's the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour on 620 WTMJ.
We're talking about second homes, vacation homes, and sometimes when people buy those things, especially, if they're maybe beachfront in Florida, or a lot of times ski resorts, like in Utah, Colorado, and that sort of thing, they're just right out front, and they say, hey, you buy this place and you can rent it. We got a rental pool, we got a rental desk, we got reservation desk.
We'll handle it all for you.
Exactly.
It's all good.
It's great. You're going to buy the second home, and it's going to pay for it yourself. Well, whenever a condo has hotel amenities like reservation desk, or if the deal is, hey, you can't occupy this place, that would be true, by the way. I had a friend of mine buy a condo hotel room in the Trump Tower in Chicago. And so when he looked at that agreement, it was like, you can't change the furniture, you can't change the pictures, because they're trying to make it like a hotel, right, with consistency.
Sure.
And so that's a sign that this ain't a regular condo, it's a condo.
When you can't move the couch, that's the signal.
Can't change the painting on the wall.
Okay.
Daily services include, don't have full-size kitchens. Like, here's your microwave oven, and there's no oven. That's a sure sign. Maybe small square footage, like under 600 square feet. Doors between the adjoining doors between the rooms. That's a sign that it's a condo hotel. And so you're not going to be able to get Fannie Mae 30-year fixed rate, the good stuff, if it's a condo hotel. Okay.
Is this like the kind of places in the Dells, like at the Wilderness?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Kalahari, those things. Great Wolf Lodge.
Sure.
All those types of places. That's a good example.
Okay.
Blue Harbor Resort up in Sheboygan. I remember getting a call from a guy once. So that's specialty financing. We do not do that at Accunet Mortgage.
Condo hotels.
Maybe someday we will. But right now we got enough of the regular stuff to take care of. Okay, let's turn the page now and talk about appraisals. So we had a real life customer whose loan we did last August of 2015, got full appraisal, $490,000. Then this past summer, he got a business loan in conjunction with that. The business lender wanted to appraise his house, got a drive-by appraisal, so not the same level of thoroughness. But guess what? They had our original report. No problem with that. We're looking at the comps and everything. And came up with a 510 value. Okay, so now the borrower comes back to us to refinance his primary residence. And we decide, boy, with that kind of variability, and here's the key. In a more rural area in Ozaukee County, okay? we decided let's do one of these things called a desk valuation review, where we have an appraiser look at the house, find comparable sales, and come up with a value before we send him out there to do the full
Sitting
appraisal.
at his desk.
Sitting at his desk, hence the desk valuation title. And that only costs $150 rather than a full appraisal, which is going to cost more like $450. And then our idea is, hey, if the value comes where we want, then the appraiser who did the desk valuation goes out and completes the full appraisal. Okay. Well, this time it came in at $470, 20 grand less than last year, and 40 grand less than the appraisal just this last summer. When we come back, we're going to tell you how the heck can that happen when everybody in America and Wisconsin knows home prices are going up. How could it go down that much in that short period of time? When we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Expert advice on buying a home. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Well, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump go head-to-head in the final presidential debate Wednesday night. You can watch that debate with us and let your voice be heard in a WTMJ voter forum. Sign up to watch the debate here at the WTMJ studios on Wednesday. To make arrangements, go online at WTMJ.com. So how does a home that gets 3 appraisals in less than, a year and a half, end up on a roller coaster ride of values?
Well, David hit the nail on the head while we were on the break. David, you want to give the answer?
It goes back to the data that we even talked about last week was, hey, there are fewer houses that sell in the $500,000 range in comparison to 200 or 300. And so when a new house sells in that range, that is going to have a larger outsized impact because there's just fewer. It's a shallower pool, as you said.
It's proportional impact. Okay. And then the other thing I would add to that is the appraisers have to follow rules of evidence, I call it. That's not what they really call them, but I think it's a handy
lawyerly analysis.
And the rules of evidence for appraiser are, I can only use homes that have actually sold in the last year. So the appraisal we had done in August of 2015, those comparable sales, the evidence upon which the appraiser builds his case to come up with a value, well, that's stale. The appraisal that was done in this example in July of just this past year, 2016, I looked at it. It had 2 comparable sales from August of 2015. So when we go to do our appraisal in September, 2 of those comps aren't there. They're gone. Okay? And in the meantime, 2 other sales happened immediately after the July appraisal was done. There was like a later in July, and then it had a completely different body of evidence that the appraiser can look to come up with their justification. And in this particular case now, the newer comps spell a lower value. Now, that's extremely hard for a homeowner to get their head around, right? But we have to take the time as mortgage professionals to crack open the reports and say, yeah, here's why. Because the appraiser has to follow certain rules, and those rules don't let them use the same.
And to just back up a hot minute, the true measure of value, like we said last week, is put your house on the offers. And it's just, you're kind of stuck with what your neighbors recently sold for, and past performance or past sales outside a certain window of time, we can't use that anymore.
That's not
the evidence has gone stale.
That's right. So then normally, by the way, nobody complains or even looks at their appraisal report when the number comes in high.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show. But as soon as it comes in disappointingly low, even if it's still sufficient to support the transaction, the top 3 things are, this guy's a moron. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the most common thing, I had to deal with this twice in 1 week here, he didn't even get the number of bedrooms and bathrooms correct. Our house has 4 bedrooms, and he said it has 3. David, why is that?
Well, I think in that example, it was because one of them was in the basement, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And so on the appraisal report, there is a line. Oh, the other thing is, and he didn't get the square footage right. Aha. That's because appraisers have to put the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage that are at the main entry level of the house or higher. So in both cases...
So don't build a house into a hill, is what you're saying.
But, I mean, sometimes that's what you do because it makes sense.
Yep.
And both of these people had lovely, I mean, first-class finished basements with a rec room, a bedroom, and a full bathroom completely exposed out the back of the house. But those square footages, bedroom and bathroom counts, appear on the very next line. And in kind of a cryptic form, it says 1RR, 1R, 1.4PA. Means one rec room, one bathroom, one full bath.
Below grade.
Below grade. Rooms finished below grade. And unfortunately, appraisers just don't give you the kind of value. I know, Mrs. Schlemowitz, you spent $60,000 on your basement remodel.
That's great.
And he's only given you $15,000 of value. I agree that's ridiculous. But that's kind of the way the appraisal world works, like it or not. So sometimes we have to help people understand. And luckily, in most cases, we can still have kinds of disappointing appraisal results because we have magic powers.
Magic mortgage powers, yes.
We just have different tools in our toolkit. All right, when we come back from the news, we're going to talk about a case that David fielded this week with the, what are we calling it, David?
We're calling it the backwards bridge.
The backwards bridge loan.
Helping people buy that next house.
Without selling their old one first. All right, when we come back after the news.
Here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ. It's coming up on 10:30 as we welcome in from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom, Colleen Bolden.
Thank you, Steve. Just over 1,200 We Energies customers remain without.
Find a place to call home without the headache. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Brian Wickert is with us. David Wickert is with us. And now we get to a rather unusual bridge loan.
So this is a play off of a bridge loan. So we got an email this week into us, people reaching out, asking questions like, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. We want to buy our next house, but maybe we can't sell this."
Because it was a well-written email.
Okay, so the concerns were, number one, in order to scale down and properly stage, they got to clear out the house, but number two, we have 2 kids, and kids are messy, and it's hard to stage a house and show it. And then, number 3 is I want to use, some of the equity in my home currently to make the down payment on the next house. So traditionally, a bridge loan is one that pays off the current mortgage you have on your house and helps you get at some of that equity that's in your home. A bridge loan is meant to be temporary, and most lenders will only go up to 80% of the value of your house. So
the old house.
The old house. So this really only works if your loan is 70% of the value of the house, you really can only tap into about 10.
Right.
But the interesting, or what I really enjoy doing, is crafting, okay, what is the ultimate goal of the new house? Okay, honey, when the dust settles, we want to have 20% equity in the new house.
And let's say $300,000, so they want to end up with a $240,000 first mortgage.
Correct. So I like to call it the backwards bridge, because maybe you don't want to pay off the mortgage on the old house. Maybe if we do the math and you can afford to retain both homes, there's nothing that might force you to pay off.
Well, and bridge loans have an expense. They cost about $1,500.
Correct, for the temporary use
right,
of
right.
Yep. So ultimately, the process or the plan that I put forward was to say, okay, well, on this new next house, you only have to put 5% down. So
$15,000 on a $300,000 loan.
Exactly. So and for these folks, what they also wanted to avoid was monthly PMI. So the plan that I put forward to them was to say, got it. Well, on the new house, let's give you a first mortgage up to 80% of the value of the new house.
That's because you want to have that in the long run.
Exactly. And then what we can do is we can put a second mortgage help you buy the house at the same time.
On the new property. Yep.
Correct.
So we're going to give you 2 loans on the new property.
Exactly.
No new loans on the old property.
Correct. So that you only have to bring that, in this case, 10% down payment, because that was what made them comfortable.
Okay, so they're going to go with 10% down, or $30,000, and they have that in savings.
Yes.
All
and
right.
so then they can buy the new house with 10% down.
Beautiful.
And then when they sell their old house,
yes,
they can take those funds, the equity that they just got, and pay off the second mortgage that we just created.
And what if we made that a home equity line of credit?
Then they could reuse it again.
So it's there for the rest of the time that they own the house.
It is, and so I call that the backwards bridge, because we're not using the equity on the old house. We're just making a craftier game plan on the new house, so that when the money becomes available from the sale of the first house,
you can get to where you want.
Exactly. Well, yeah. So I call that the backwards bridge.
The other super duper advantage of going a route like this, and we have both the old-fashioned bridge loan and the new backwards bridge tool in our toolkit, is it makes you a much more powerful buyer, because you're not writing with a sale of home contingency, which we like to call the kiss of death.
It's not the total kiss of death. It's the half kiss of death.
What?
The sale of home contingency.
No, it's the kiss of death, David. It really is. Nobody, when you're entertaining offers, you do not want to get one that says, "Yeah, I'll do this after I sell my house." So good solution. Good job by you.
Thank you.
And
I just part of the pleasure of doing loan consulting is we got an email from a smart guy who just didn't know what the game plan would be. Exactly.
Yep, and all right. So we have all those tools in the toolkit to help people get from one home to the next without selling the first one first, the old house first. Not in every case. I had one up in Minnesota, just by the way, where the guy doesn't make enough money.
Okay.
He wanted to sell his $400,000 house and buy a $600,000, and it's like, I'm sorry, you don't have enough monthly income to support both payments.
Because we have to pretend as if you were never able to sell the old house.
Correct. That is part of the formula. All right. So, good job. By the way, fall is still a good time to buy a house. Second most popular season. You bought a house in fall. I bought 2 houses, the most recent in fall. Sold 2 houses in fall. It's still an active time, and actually, as we talked about last week, inventory is going up a little bit. All right, when we come back, let's talk about the dreaded multiple counteroffer and how you can counter that dreaded multiple counteroffer when we come back.
Here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Important home buying questions and answers you can count on. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Now, the merger of Miller Coors and Molson Coors has made national headlines, but it's also made a lot of people in Milwaukee concerned about the future of Miller Brewing Company. CEO Gavin Hattersley sits down with their own Gene Miller to address that and more during this week's WTMJ Conversations, which is coming up here at 11:07 this morning. Right now, it's the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert and David Wickert. And now, what do you do in a situation where you've got multiple counter offers?
Yeah, this is a nightmare, David.
Well, for the seller, it's the best if you're a seller.
Yeah, so here's what we're talking about. And I was advising a client as a real estate broker in this particular situation. The buyer was put in an offer for $115,000 to buy a small single-family home that they were going to rent. Okay, and it was a very strong offer in that they did not need any mortgage. Check. Awesome.
I have money. I will bring it to the table.
That's right.
Would you like it?
And we're not going to require an appraisal. Wow. And we can close whenever you want. Okay? So, I mean, super strong. But the seller, but it was at
the only thing better would be a bag of money. But keep going.
Well, but it wasn't a full price offer.
Oh.
That's, I think, what you meant to say.
Okay.
So it was not a full price offer. And so, wouldn't you know, the seller got other offers because of that price range. Very, very affordable living if you're going to live in it yourself, or you can make a cash flow as a rental, either way. And so then back came the dreaded multiple offer. And from the multiple counteroffer. Thank you. And so it countered. I'm sorry, the original offer was 110. So the counteroffer was at 115. okay, coming back from the seller. Now, what you don't know when you're competing in this situation is you don't know what the other people have offered, and the seller is under no obligation to tell you. They just have to have the realtor. This is where the code of ethics comes in. They do have to have a bona fide written offer to purchase from another buyer. Okay, you don't know if there's three. Sometimes the listing agent will tell you. I think there were a total of 3 offers in this case. And now here's the other crazy bad part: is the buyer. You don't know what the other counter offer proposals contain. They could be at different prices. The seller doesn't have to use the same price for every one. You don't know what the other terms are. Do they have a sale of home contingency? You're blind.
The seller holds the cards.
The seller is holding all the power. And so and by the way, then the deadline in this case was get back to us by Monday with your best proposal, Mr. Potential Buyer. And we're going to get all the good offers back by that day, and then we'll let you know who won. So the mission as the buyer's agent for me was, how can I create some urgency, okay? And so what we did is we said, all right, you know what? We'll give you what you wanted. You countered us at 115, you got it. But that offer's only good until Sunday at midnight.
Oh. Pull the timeline forward.
Pull the time, because I wanted to have our buyer's offer get accepted before the other people had a chance to respond.
So they couldn't just sit on it and
see what happened.
Yeah.
All right, so we came back. This was fairly clever. I was quite proud of myself, I want to say.
I can't tell.
And I said, okay, you got to respond. I'll meet your demand. You want 115?
Done. Yes,
Mr. Buyer, we'll accept that, but you have to accept. And if you don't accept, then our price goes down to 113, and we're going to add an appraisal contingency. Because we didn't think the house was going to appraise out.
Okay.
So we made it painful for them, lower price, and the interjection of the uncertainty of now we're going to get an appraisal. So it was really hard, and we were kind of in a unique situation, and because we didn't have an appraisal contingency, to be able to add that back to make our potential counteroffer.
But that could be for an inspection contingency too.
Sure, or you could lower the appraisal. It's like, hey, you know what? We'll either waive the appraisal contingency if you had it in there. Maybe you'd do that as a sweetener, and then threaten to put it back in. But the whole idea was we had to give a motivation.
To take back a little bit of the control.
Yep, and it worked. They got the accepted offer at the 115 by that Sunday at midnight, and the transaction has now closed. Boom, boom. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about what did I call it, Steve? Severe
survey sampling bias.
There you go. Severe survey sampling bias that I found in a National Association of Realtors report, but it's a lesson that we can also apply to any other poll or survey, including political polls, when we come back.
Coming up here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Getting you through the home buying process. Welcome back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And licensed millennial loan consultant David Wickert. So now we're up to what Brian is calling a case of severe survey sampling bias when you look at this study by the National Association of Realtors.
Yep, I was trolling around and looking for information for the show, and I came across this beautifully crafted report by the National Association of Realtors, of which I am a card-carrying and proud member. And the Realtors is a trademark of the National Association of Realtors, by the way. Well, they mailed 94,971 questionnaires to home buyers across the country. That's a lot. And they got the names of homebuyers from Experian, the credit reporting repository, and then they got a very impressive 6.7% response rate, which means they got 6,400 survey responses. That's a lot. And then the disclaimer on here is the data in the presentation is based on medians, or the typical buyer in the category, and is not all encompassing. Okay, that's their one footnote. Now, they broke it out by region. So Wisconsin is in the east north central region, which includes Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. Okay, got that east, not the western north central. But okay, and so David, I gave you the mountain region, which includes what?
Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. All right,
and these are beautiful infographics, aren't they, Steve? I mean, just take a look.
Oh yeah, they look spectacular.
Pie charts, bar charts, little fun facts. All right, so the median age in east north central, where Wisconsin is, of these home buyers was 39. David, what was it in the mountain?
49 in the mountain area.
What?
Yeah.
10 years difference? 37% in my region, East North Central, were first-time buyers. What about in your area?
37%.
Yeah, right under median income? No?
21% in the mountain.
Wow. That's crazy. And then the average amount of student debt that people had in the North Central region was $30,000.
$40,000 in the mountain.
Oh,
College is more expensive in the mountain.
How can they be so different?
Just laying the groundwork for
All right,
yourself.
so I'm reading this cool book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and this is an example of your first brain wanting to accept this information as being valid. And here's the key. Does this report, does this survey tell us really accurately about home buyers in this North Central region or even in the mountain region?
No. It's only 6,400 people.
And which 6,400
The
people?
ones that chose to reply.
This is exactly right, David.
Okay.
This survey only tells us information about the people who chose to respond. The next step, which is what political pollsters try to do, is applying the responses from the people who responded to the broader population. That critical step is completely missing in here.
Yes.
So what we can know is that, younger people responded to the survey in East North Central, and older people responded in the mountain region.
Yes.
We don't know if the respondents were representative of the overall population of buyers. Okay. So interesting side note, there was a New York Times guy who gave the exact same political polling information to 5 different pollsters. So same raw data now. And each one of them came up with a different answer as to who was ahead in the race. And so that was fascinating to me. That was just at the end of September. And the whole magic there was that how did the pollsters apply the responses to the overall population? And the key there is who's going to vote, right? So you might have a certain percentage of, Hispanic respondents to the political poll who said that they were going to vote for the Republicans. And, what percentage of the turnout is that going to be? Mm-hmm. So that's where the difference comes in all surveys and data. You can use that in your everyday life, not just in mortgage lending or real estate. All right, what's happening with rates real quick, David?
Yeah. So the 10-year Treasury ended the week at 1.8%, which is up a little bit. It's been creeping away as the drumbeat continues for the Fed to raise rates in December.
Talk to us in mortgage rates here.
Okay, sorry. But on a 30-year fixed-rate loan, Accunet Mortgage could deliver with all the right stuff, which is 25% equity at $200,000. Balance and a FICO score of 740, 3.5% with what I call regular closing costs.
Which at Accunet Mortgage are
$1,200.
$1,160. Let's not, make it sound worse than
Balloon
it is.
APR is 3.52. If you prefer, like I do, the no closing cost option, it's 3.625%. That is, the APR is the same. And if you're looking to get down to the 15-year fixed, the trophy rate of 2.875 with just $500 in closing costs, APR is 2.89. The money's still cheap.
So what's happening, everybody, is that as we move away from the most recent Fed meeting where we were like, they didn't raise rates. This past week we got the minutes from that meeting, which revealed what we already knew, which is that we're getting closer. In fact, there was some funny line in there like, we're getting really close. Really? You've been saying that for a year.
But not just close, really.
Really close. So right now, if you look at the Commodities and Mercantile Exchange, CME Group, they publish a percentage chance that the Fed's going to act in December. Nobody thinks that they're going to raise rates in November. But the chances now are 69.5%. Let's call it 70% chance for a Fed rate hike in December, which is in about the middle of the month when they meet. And so what markets do is they react as though that information's already happened. So that's why we have mortgage rates creeping up a little bit. We were in the dip a couple weeks ago. We were advertising 3.375 with, I think, no cost. Now we're up to 3.625 with no cost. Still great rate. Still time, but nothing on the horizon that makes us think that rates are going to dip back down. So our advice, as always, take a look at it, especially if you have a home equity line of credit. And remember, the new rule of thumb is if your rate goes down 0.5%, so from 4 to 3.5, and we can shave 2 years off your loan, let's say from 27 years down to 25, you could be saving over $10,000 of interest over the remaining life of the loan. Put everything together right now. Get rid of that home equity line of credit. All you got to do to find out how much you can save is click on that blue button at accunet.com. We'll see you again next week.
You've been listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ. Straight ahead, Colleen Boland joins us from the WTMJ 24-hour newsroom.
The preceding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show are solely that of the hosts or guests of Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors and not WTMJ Radio or Scripps Media Incorporated.